House of the Dragon may have ended last night, however, there's another Game of Thrones show heading our way. As the final episode of House of the Dragon's second season was about to air, HBO released their first official teaser for their new Game of Thrones series, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, the Dunk and Egg stories are a series of novellas written by George R. R. Martin, set in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire roughly 90 years before the events in A Game of Thrones. HBO's new series will follow the adventures of the Hedge Knight Sir Duncan, who would become a legendary member of the Kingsguard, and his squire Egg, who would later become King Aegon Targaryen. The Dunk and Egg show will highlight what happened during their adventures around Westeros. They started filming the first season at the beginning of the summer. Now we're able to get our first look at Sir Duncan in his armor, as well as our first official look at Aegon, and even the receptionist at Ashford Meadow. On his Not a Blog website, George R. R. Martin said, HBO has given us a green light to film the first season of Dunk and Egg. It looks like we will film 6 episodes, although that is not set in stone. So far, he's only written 3 novellas about Dunk and Egg, and those are The Hedge Knight, The Sworn Sword, and The Mystery Knight. Each of those were initially released in various anthologies before they were released as a collection in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Our first season will be an adaptation of the first of 3 novellas, The Hedge Knight, the story of how Sir Duncan first met Egg, and the dangerous situation he finds himself in after he arrives at Ashford Meadow. It's another one of my favorite events in Westerosi history. Now, HBO's official website also has a description of their show. It says a century before the events of A Game of Thrones, these unlikely heroes wandered Westeros. They were a young but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his squire Egg. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is set in an age when the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne, and the memory of the last dragon has not yet faded away. We get our introduction of Sir Duncan in the opening scene of the first novella, as he's digging a grave for the old man Sir Arlen. We eventually learn that Sir Duncan was an orphan who lived in the gutters of Flea Bottom in King's Landing. Now, the old man Sir Arlen found him there when he was only 5 or 6 years old. That's when he decided he would make Duncan his squire, essentially raising him as they wandered Westeros together for the next decade. At the beginning of the first novella, The Hedge Knight, Duncan is roughly 16 years old, standing nearly 7 foot in height. Although he may have been young, he was massive and now a skilled fighter thanks to Sir Arlen. Unfortunately, Sir Duncan was left on his own after Sir Arlen died. The only thing he had to his name are what the old man left him. That was 3 silver stags, some copper pennies, and a garnet. He also had an iron half-helm, a brown leather sword belt, and a long sword in a leather scabbard, a dagger, a razor, and a whetstone. The old man left him 3 horses as well. Since they were already on their way to the tourney at Ashford Meadow, Sir Duncan decided he would still go there himself in Sir Arlen's stead. He figured there was nothing he could lose since he was already on his own, and he barely had anything to his name. He thought some lord might at least take him into his household if he fought well. All Sir Duncan was looking for was a way to survive without the old man. As he was on his way to Ashford Meadow, he stopped at the inn alongside the road. Once inside, he met someone who was visibly shaken by the sight of him. This man said he saw Duncan in his dream right before he entered the inn. He also found a young boy who had a shaved head, known only as Egg at the time. That was when the young boy asked Sir Duncan if he could be his squire. Sir Duncan said no, and he left for Ashford Meadow shortly thereafter. Now, later that evening, he discovered Egg found his way there anyway. After Egg said he was from King's Landing, Sir Duncan assumed he was an orphan from Flea Bottom like him. Once he arrived at the grounds of the tourney, Duncan was forced to sell one of his horses, Sweetfoot, and Sir Arlen's old armor. He had to find a way to get money so he could buy armor of his own. That's when he met a girl named Tanzel, who agreed to paint his shield with his own sigil. HBO has already revealed which actress they've hired for that role. Now, the day after his arrival, Sir Duncan had to register his name before he could officially enter the tourney. That was when he found out you had to be knighted first before you could enter. He went to Lord Ashford's steward and said he had been knighted by Sir Arlen right before he died. This is most likely not accurate. His own thoughts and actions would suggest Duncan might have lied so he could enter the tourney anyway. Later that evening, Tanzel would get attacked by Aegon Targaryen. HBO has revealed that actor as well. As soon as Sir Duncan realized what was happening, he ran to her defense. Aegon's own guards had to intervene. That's when Egg stepped in and revealed his identity as a way to stop Aegon's guards from harming Duncan any further. This is when we find out Egg is not some random kid. He's actually Prince Aegon of House Targaryen. Although this did stop the guards from attacking Duncan any further, he was still arrested and brought inside the castle to stand before Baelor Targaryen. Here was our first look at that actor. By now, word was already spreading about Sir Duncan having kidnapped Aegon. You see, Aeg was considered missing while he was staying at the inn. He actually shaved his head as a way to hide his identity. These lies had King Maekar furious at Sir Duncan. They were essentially forced to allow Aerion to hold a trial against him. Now that his ego was hurt, he demanded a trial by 7. It's basically a trial by combat, only this one would be 7 versus 7. Sir Duncan was at an obvious disadvantage. Not only was he an unknown man who had very little friends or influence, but he also had to go up against the Targaryen family. Now, thanks to Aeg, he was able to find 6 allies who would join him in the trial by combat. They would have to face off against 3 Targaryens, Knights of the Kingsguard, as well as Sir Steffon Fossaway. It would lead to one of the most amazing moments in Westerosi history. Now, I don't want to reveal what happens after this just yet. I would highly recommend watching the show, as well as reading all 3 of the Duncan Egg novellas, The Hedge Knight, The Sworn Sword, and The Mystery Knight. All 3 of those novellas are incredible. Like I said at the beginning of this video, House of the Dragon might have ended, however there's another Game of Thrones show heading our way. Now that they've been filming Duncan Egg for several months, I'm sure we will start to see a lot more photos and videos released from the set. I'm happy HBO released their official teaser now, while they still have millions of eyes on House of the Dragon. As of right now, this Duncan Egg series is still scheduled to release on HBO and HBO Max early next year. They should be able to make these seasons easy, considering there's only 6 episodes and they don't have to add any dragons, White Walkers, or thousands of soldiers. This show will be smaller in scale, so I hope you're not expecting there to be massive battles in each season. Duncan Egg will be more like an adventure show, sort of like how we followed Arya and the Hound, or Brienne and Pod the Rod. Since it is a much smaller show, I'm hoping they will be able to release a new season every year. That would certainly hold me over until The Winds of Winter, the next Duncan Egg novella, or Season 3 of House of the Dragon. I am incredibly excited to finally see Sir Duncan and Aegon get brought to life on the screen. Eventually, we might end up seeing Robert's Rebellion as well. If you remember, George R. R. Martin would always say they will never make a show about Duncan Egg or Robert's Rebellion. Now he's excited about HBO releasing its first season of Duncan Egg. Maybe he'll start to feel that way about Robert's Rebellion. I've always said that would be the show that finds similar success to Game of Thrones, considering it's set only 17 years before the main show. Now that show might not have dragons or White Walkers either, but what it does have is an endless amount of amazing characters and moments from Westerosi history. I know I'm not alone when I say I would love to see Robert's Rebellion as the next Game of Thrones show. Anyways, let me know what you think about the Duncan Egg series down below. Are you excited, or would you rather watch something else? Once again, I want to thank all of you for watching another video. I will be here making videos every single week about everything regarding Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Duncan Egg, Winds of Winter, and so much more. I hope I will see all of you back here for the next video as well. Have a great day everyone. See you soon. Bye.